You're sitting at your kitchen island at 10:30 on a Tuesday morning. You're working from home, wearing a nice shirt but sweatpants on the bottom, staring at your laptop screen. You have a spreadsheet open, a couple of browser tabs, and your company's messaging app, let's just call it Slack or Teams, sitting in the corner. You are technically at work. But honestly, you haven't typed a single meaningful thing in over an hour. You are just sort of moving the mouse every few minutes so your little status dot stays green. You're waiting for an email. You're waiting for a manager to ask for a status update on a project that doesn't actually matter. And as you sit there in the quiet of your house, a very dark, very quiet thought creeps into the back of your mind. If my job completely disappeared tomorrow, would anyone actually notice? And then you open up LinkedIn. It's a bloodbath. Another massive tech company just laid off 10,000 middle managers. A marketing agency just replaced its entire copywriting department with an AI language model. You see these panicked, desperate posts from people with master's degrees and senior strategy titles begging their network for leads. Suddenly, your nice, safe, comfortable email job doesn't feel safe at all. It feels like you were sitting on a trap door, and the algorithm holding the lever is getting smarter every single day. Hi again, it's me, Karen. I work at the intersection of finance and human behavior, and lately I spend a lot of time looking at the terrifying unraveling of the American dream. We were all sold a very specific, very expensive lie about what success looks like. We were told that physical labor was for people who failed, and that true safety was found inside an air-conditioned office, behind a keyboard, under the warm glow of a fluorescent light. But it's 2026. The economy has violently inverted. The people who followed the rules, took on the six-figure student loan debt, and learned how to build PowerPoint presentations are terrified, drowning in inflation, and actively being replaced by code. Meanwhile, the guy who skipped college, bought a set of tools and learned how to weld or wire a house or fix a massive commercial HVAC unit, he is practically printing his own money. He has absolute, unshakable job security, he dictates his own pricing, and he is quietly becoming the new millionaire next door. Today, we are going to completely shatter the white-collar illusion. We are going to look at why the blue-collar era is dying, how artificial intelligence is coming for the laptop class, and why the physical trades are now the single most lucrative, bulletproof financial bet you can make in the modern economy. Whether you are terrified for your own job or you're a parent trying to figure out how to guide your kids, we need to talk about the brutal math of reality. Grab a cup of coffee. Let's get our hands dirty. To understand why blue-collar work is experiencing a massive renaissance, we first have to look at the absolute carnage happening in the white-collar world. For the last 20 years, the ultimate goal for the middle class was the email job. You know exactly what I mean. A job where you don't actually build anything physical. You coordinate, you strategize, you sit in meetings, you analyze data, you write reports, and you move digital information from one folder to another. These jobs were comfortable, they paid well, they allowed you to work remotely and order DoorDash on a Tuesday afternoon, but there was a fatal flaw in the email job. It existed entirely in the digital realm. And in 2026, the digital realm has been completely conquered by artificial intelligence. We used to think that automation was only coming for the factory workers. We thought robots would only replace the people putting windshields on cars on an assembly line. We told ourselves, well, a machine can never replace human creativity, strategic thinking, or complex data analysis. We were incredibly, dangerously arrogant. AI didn't come for the forklift driver first. It came for the middle manager. It came for the junior copywriter, the paralegal, the data entry clerk, the HR coordinator, and the software developer. Why would a massive corporation pay an entry-level analyst $75,000 a year, plus health insurance, plus a 401k match, to sit in a cubicle and compile weekly Excel reports when an enterprise AI model can instantly generate the exact same report, completely error-free, for a fraction of a cent in server costs? They wouldn't, and they aren't. We are living through the white-collar recession. Companies are quietly, methodically hollowing out their middle layers. They are keeping a few highly paid senior executives to make the big decisions, and they are replacing the entire execution layer with software. If your job consists of looking at a screen, reading information, rearranging that information, and sending it to someone else on a screen, you are competing against an algorithm that doesn't sleep, doesn't complain, and doesn't ask for a cost of living raise. The safety of the desk job is completely dead. It is a terrifying realization for millions of people holding expensive university degrees. The digital moat has evaporated. Now, let's contrast that digital bloodbath with the reality of the physical world. Imagine it is a Friday night in December. It's freezing outside. You are sitting in your living room and suddenly you hear a loud, terrifying pop from the basement. You run downstairs and a pipe is burst. Water is rapidly filling your basement, ruining your drywall, soaking your furniture, and threatening the structural integrity of your house. In that moment of absolute panic, what do? Do you open ChatGPT and ask it to write a Python script to fix the leak? Do you create a beautiful dynamic PowerPoint presentation outlining the strategic synergies of water mitigation? Do you send an urgent Slack message to a junior data analyst in another time zone? No, you are completely paralyzed until a human being with calloused hands, a wrench, and physical expertise walks through your front door. This is the ultimate unhackable moat of the trades. You cannot digitize physical reality. An AI model can write 1,000,000 lines of code in a second, but it literally cannot turn a screwdriver. It cannot crawl under a house to replace a rotted subfloor. It cannot diagnose a faulty relay in a massive commercial rooftop air conditioning unit. The physical world requires physical friction. It requires human beings interacting with atoms, not just bytes. Because the entire education system spent the last 3 decades funneling every single capable high school student into a 4-year university to learn how to send emails, we completely stopped training people how to maintain the physical infrastructure of our civilization. We have a massive, catastrophic shortage of electricians, plumbers, HVAC technicians, welders, and heavy machinery mechanics. And what happens in economics when you have a massive, non-negotiable demand for a service and an incredibly tiny, shrinking supply of people who can actually provide it? Pricing power. Absolute, unadulterated pricing power. When you call that emergency plumber on a Friday night, he doesn't ask you what your budget is. He tells you, it's $250 just to pull my van into your driveway, and it's $150 an hour after that, plus parts. And what do? You say, please hurry. The blue-collar worker has the ultimate leverage. They hold the keys to the physical survival of your home and your business. While the tech bro is begging a corporation not to replace him with software, the tradesman is turning away clients because he is booked out for 6 months. If the trades are so lucrative and so secure, why aren't people flooding into them? To answer that, we have to look at the single most successful marketing scam in American history, the 4-year university degree. I want to be very careful here. If you want to be a neurosurgeon or a structural engineer or a lawyer, you absolutely must go to a university. I am not anti-education. I am anti-financial suicide. For the last 40 years, parents, guidance counselors, and the media beat a specific narrative into the heads of every teenager in the country. If you don't go to college, you are a failure. You will end up flipping burgers. College is the only path to the middle class. So we sent 18-year-olds, kids whose prefrontal cortexes aren't even fully developed, to sign legally binding, non-dischargeable loan documents for $80,000, $100,000, or $150,000. We told them to study communications or sociology or general business administration. They graduate at 22 years old with a piece of paper that qualifies them for absolutely no specific technical task. They take an entry-level email job making $55,000 a year, but they have an $800 a month student loan payment hanging around their neck like an anchor. They are starting their financial life at negative $100,000. By the time they are 30, they are exhausted, they can't afford to buy a house, and their job is currently being threatened by a large language model. Now, look at the math of the trades. Let's look at an 18-year-old kid who decides to become a union electrician. He doesn't go to a university, he enters an apprenticeship program. An apprenticeship is not just school, it is a job. From day one, he is working on a job site, learning the physical reality of the trade from a master electrician. And because he is working, he is getting paid. It might be $20 or $25 an hour to start, but he is generating positive cash flow at 18 years old. He goes to class a couple of nights a week, and usually the union or the employer pays for the schooling. By the time this kid is 22, the exact same age the college student is walking across a stage to accept a massive debt burden, the electrician has completed his apprenticeship. He is now a journeyman. In many major cities in 2026, a union journeyman electrician is making $45, $50, or even $60 an hour, plus an incredibly robust pension and health benefits package. He is 22 years old, making $100,000 a year with absolutely zero student loan debt. He has 4 years of actual compounding wealth under his belt. He buys a house while the college graduate is moving back into their parents' basement to defer their loan payments. The financial gap created in those first 4 years is almost impossible to close. The math overwhelmingly favors the trades. We have just been too blinded by academic snobbery to admit it. If you are thinking, well, sure, it's good now, but eventually the market will get saturated, I need to introduce you to the demographic reality of the physical world. It is called the silver tsunami. Look at the people currently running the construction sites, fixing the power grids, and repairing the plumbing in your city. The vast majority of them are baby boomers or older Gen Xers. The average age of a master tradesman in the United States is hovering somewhere around 55 years old. Think about the physical toll of pulling heavy wire, crawling in attics, and hauling equipment for 35 years. Their knees are shot, their backs hurt, they're exhausted, and they are preparing to retire. Within the next 5 to 7 years, a massive, unprecedented wave of highly skilled, veteran blue-collar workers is going to permanently exit the labor force. They're going to pack up their tools, sell their trucks, and go to Florida. And who's replacing them? Nobody. Because we spent the last 3 decades funneling millennials and Gen Z into digital marketing degrees. There is practically no pipeline of young talent ready to take over these roles. The ratio of people retiring from the trades compared to people entering the trades is catastrophic. Some estimates show that for every 5 electricians who retire, only 1 new apprentice is entering the field. This isn't just a minor labor shortage. This is a foundational crisis for the physical infrastructure of the country. But if you are a young person or an adult looking to completely pivot your career, a systemic crisis is the greatest financial opportunity of your lifetime. When the silver tsunami fully hits, the scarcity of physical labor is going to drive the cost of these services to absolute astronomical highs. We are already seeing plumbers and HVAC techs who are willing to work overtime, pulling in $150,000 to $200,000 a year. That number is going to climb. You're stepping into an industry where your competition is literally aging out of existence, and demand is permanently hardwired into the survival of modern society. It is the safest, most lucrative macroeconomic bet you can possibly make. There is a fundamental misunderstanding about what a career in the trades actually looks like. When the laptop class looks down on blue-collar work, they usually imagine a 50-year-old guy covered in grease breaking his back for an hourly wage until the day he dies. They view it as a permanently manual, permanently exhausting existence. They completely fail to see the business trajectory. The trades are not just a job, they are the fastest, most reliable incubator for small business ownership in the world. Let's trace the arc of a smart, ambitious tradesperson. You spend your 20s in the field, you get your hands dirty, you learn the trade, you get your master's license, and you understand the physics of the work. Yes, it is physically demanding. Yes, you sweat. But by the time you are 30, you stop working for someone else's company, you buy a used van, you put your own name on the side of it, and you start your own LLC. Because demand is so wildly high, your phone rings constantly. Within 2 years, you have more work than you can physically handle. So what do? You hire 2 young apprentices. You buy 2 more vans. Now you aren't just turning a wrench, you are managing a schedule. You are earning a profit off the labor of the guys driving your vans. By the time you're 40, you aren't crawling under houses anymore. You own a fleet of 8 vehicles. You have a commercial office space. You spend your days doing estimates, managing commercial contracts, and running a multi-million-dollar local service business. You have transitioned from blue-collar labor to white-collar ownership, but you did it without a massive corporate hierarchy, without private equity breathing down your neck, and without the constant threat of AI replacing your core product. I know dozens of these guys. They are the quietest, wealthiest people in your town. They drive F-150s, they wear Carhartt jackets to nice restaurants, and they have 7 figures sitting in liquid cash in their local credit union. They are the new millionaires next door. They own the physical friction of their community. And the tech bro who used to look down on them from a high-rise office building is now sitting at home unemployed, begging that exact same guy to come fix his air conditioning and paying whatever price the guy demands. So the math is undeniable. The security is unmatched. The business upside is massive. Why is it so hard for people to accept this? Why do I talk to 30-year-old adults who are drowning in debt, miserable in their cubicles, who violently reject the idea of pivoting to the trades? It is ego. Pure, unadulterated ego. We have attached an incredibly toxic social stigma to getting our hands dirty. We have decided that taking a shower after work is somehow less dignified than taking a shower before work. People are terrified of what their peers will think. If you have a degree from a nice university and you spent the last 6 years telling everyone on LinkedIn about your synergistic marketing strategies, there is a massive psychological barrier to suddenly admitting that the corporate ladder is a scam. It feels like a downgrade to tell your college friends, yeah, I quit the agency. I'm an apprentice HVAC tech now. You are afraid they will judge you. You are afraid they will think you failed. Let them judge you. Let them sit in their fragile AI-threatened email jobs stressing over quarterly performance reviews while they rent an apartment they can barely afford. Ego is the enemy of wealth. Ego is a luxury you cannot afford in a $115 oil barrel economy. You have to look at your life like a completely emotionless CFO. If the current trajectory of your white-collar career is highly vulnerable to automation, mathematically incompatible with the cost of housing, and making you deeply miserable, you have to pivot. You have to swallow your pride, put on a pair of steel-toed boots, and go where the money actually is. The financial peace of mind that comes from knowing you possess a tangible, undeniable, highly scarce physical skill will cure your ego incredibly fast. There is an absolute, profound dignity in physical competence. There is dignity in building something that lasts. All right, I can hear some of you right now. You're saying, okay, Karen, I believe you. I'm tired of the corporate anxiety. I want the security. But I'm 32 years old, I have soft hands, and I don't know the difference between a Phillips head and a flathead screwdriver. How do I actually do this? It is completely possible, but it requires a very specific, deliberate strategy. Here is your action plan. Step 1, do not go back into debt. The biggest mistake adults make when pivoting to the trades is treating it like a college degree. They see a commercial for a private trade institute that promises to teach them welding in 6 months for the low price of $25,000. Absolutely not. Do not take out a loan to learn a trade. You learn a trade by doing the trade. You must find an apprenticeship or an entry-level helper position. Step 2, Go to the local union hall. If you live near a major city, your very first stop should be the local union halls, the IBEW for electricians, the UA for plumbers and pipe fitters. You literally walk in the front door, tell them you are looking to change careers, and ask when they are testing for their next apprenticeship class. Union apprenticeships are the gold standard. The training is unparalleled, the safety standards are rigorous, and the pay scale progression is legally binding and transparent. It is highly competitive to get in, but if you treat the application process like a full-time job, it is the golden ticket. Step 3, the small shop hustle. If the union route isn't viable in your area or you don't want to wait for the testing cycle, you go the non-union merit shop route. Look up the top 5 highest-rated independent plumbing, HVAC, or electrical companies in your town, the ones with a fleet of 10 vans. Do not email them. Email is for the laptop class. You put on clean, sturdy clothes, you walk into their office at 6:30 in the morning, right when the guys are loading up the trucks, you ask to speak to the owner or the field manager, you look them in the eye and say, I am a fully functioning adult. I show up on time, I pass a drug test, I don't look at my phone when I'm working, and I want to learn this trade. Will you hire me as a helper? In 2026, an employer finding an adult who can pass a drug test and actually show up on time is like finding a unicorn. They will hire you. You will start at the bottom. You will carry heavy things. You will fetch tools. It will be exhausting, and you will take a temporary pay cut from your office job. But you are getting paid to learn. You are getting paid to absorb the physics of the trade. Within 6 months, you aren't just a helper, you are turning the wrench. Within 2 years, you have your own van. Within 5 years, you have your license, and you officially possess a skill that makes you completely immune to the algorithms, immune to corporate layoffs, and immune to the macroeconomic fear that is currently destroying the middle class. I know it is terrifying to admit that the path we were all promised might have been a massive, expensive dead end. It is incredibly hard to look at an expensive university degree hanging on your wall and realize that it isn't going to protect you from the reality of the 2026 economy. It is okay to mourn the loss of that illusion, but you cannot let the illusion keep you trapped in a state of permanent financial anxiety. The world has changed. The digital realm is getting crowded, automated, and cheap. The physical world is getting scarce, necessary, and incredibly expensive. You are not a failure for pivoting. You are a highly intelligent financial operator moving your capital, your time, and your energy into the most lucrative, secure asset class available. The tech bro era is over. The era of the bloated corporate email job is crashing down under the weight of AI and high interest rates. The future belongs to the people who can build, fix, and maintain the physical reality we all rely on. The future belongs to the trades. If you are exhausted by the corporate grind, if you are terrified of the next round of layoffs, or if you are a parent watching your teenagers stress about college debt, I am giving you permission to look at the guy in the dirty work boots driving the heavy-duty truck and realize that he is the one who actually won the game. Put down the spreadsheet. Pick up a tool. You've got this. I'll see you in the next one.